Gather round the flickering candlelight and prepare to cross the veil. Each week on the Boostifer Seance, your ghostly guides, Mrs. and Mr. Boost, summon a chilling new tale from the other side. From haunted mansions and cursed forests to restless spirits with unfinished business, this spectral duo dives deep into spine-tingling ghost stories that will haunt your dreams. Whether it's a forgotten legend or a real-life haunting, no story is too eerie for the booze to conjure. So light a candle, clutch your blanket tight, and dare to join the seance, because once you listen, something might just follow you home. Enter, if you dare.
Ooh, enter if you dare.
Hello.
Hello. This is episode 4. I said it right. 4.
4.
Oh my.
That means 1 month of the Boostifer Seance.
Are you guys tired of us yet? Oh, today's episode is on the ghost of the Charleston Old City Jail. Ooh.
That's true. But before we get there, 2 things. 1, happy 4th of July, everyone. Even though it's technically now July 5th. Some of us were lazy and a tad bit tipsy to do this yesterday. Mainly me. So yeah, happy 4th of July, everyone. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to introduce the Booster Seance mug that I have received in the mail, and it is wonderful. It keeps all of your liquids very, very warm while you're listening to spooky stories.
Ooh. And since the July 4th is gone, hello, Halloween. Start rolling it in.
Yep, that's next holiday, Halloween. Yeah, screw all the months in between now and October. If you can't tell, we're a bit of Halloween fanatics over here. That and Christmas, seeing that the Christmas tree is still in the living room. Yep.
Oh man.
Alrighty. Well, as Miss Booster said, our episode this week is on the ghost of the old Charleston jail. Um, this is, of course, as promised, a episode from our home area of South Carolina, a little bit further away in Charleston, but Charleston is one of the richest places in South Carolina for spooky tales and things of that nature. So, not much of a better place to start if you're talking about ghost stories in the Carolinas. Um, this one specifically um, has a lot of good history that's in it. Um, there's not as much as I would like to see, and Miss Boo can weigh in on this too later on if she wants, but there's not as much story specifically about the jail as I would have liked to have seen. Um, there's a lot of stories about 2 or 3 individuals who were jailed there or resided there and were ultimately killed there from their punishment. So a lot of this is going to kind of focus on mainly one person in specific who we will get to. We do have a few kind of interesting, I found a couple interesting stories about um, the ghost tours that go on there now. So the jail is still open to ghost tours today. I believe it's, what is it, something dog? I forget what it's called. Um, well, I'm gonna
Like
look it up now.
tour dogs? Or no, ghost dogs?
It is.
Shout out.
I don't want to get their name wrong. So Bulldog Tours.
Bulldog tours.
Bulldog Tours currently, I believe, is the only tour agency that does tours in the Old City Jail. So yeah, so if you're cool with it, I'm gonna dive right into our description. Again, this one a little bit lengthy because it kind of dives into past, present, current, past, present, current, past and present, um, and
Past, present, and future.
yeah. All right, so Known as the most haunted building in South Carolina, the Old City Jail on 21 Magazine Street was formerly the most grotesque penal establishment in pre-Civil War America. Its reputation proceeded into America's most divisive period and beyond before finally shutting its horrid corridors in 1939. Built in 1802, the legacy of this imposing fortress of fatalities lasted 137 years, and legends say nearly 10,000 people died within its decrepit walls. While the true number likely totals in the hundreds rather than the thousands, it does not alleviate the pain and suffering of those who were exposed to the jail and its horrendous conditions. Most died due to infections gained from the outright lack of cleanliness and inhumane methods of torture that they were subjected to. They say many of the spirits who reside here, are violent and have laid hands upon visitors and tour guides alike. Many former tour guides refuse to enter the building altogether, but it is still a major attraction to many who visit Chucktown. Next time you visit Charleston, be sure to take a ghost tour with U.S. Ghost Adventures or Bulldog Tours, whoever, and learn more about this historic 17th century pirate-infested port city. The terrifying imposition of the Old City Jail is enough to deter even the boldest ghost hunters. An octagonal tower lined with small slits for windows brings to mind medieval castles of old. But for those brave enough to enter, the jail's crumbling brick and iron-lined walls and cement the idea that this was once a place of pure terror. In 1680, the land it now sits on was designed for public use, used as a hospital, a workhorse for enslaved African people, and a poorhouse. The land itself likely saw high levels of death before being forever encased in its impenetrable walls. Built in 1802, it originally consisted of two octagonal towers that rose 4 stories into the air to block the sunlight from hitting the faces of approaching captives, a sight they were never expected to see again. Architect Robert Mills, who also built the Washington Monument, constructed a fireproof 4-story wing that was later demolished in 1856 to make room for the tower we see today. On August 31st, 1886, the 4th floor of the rear tower was knocked clear off during an earthquake of a roughly 6.3 magnitude. During this earthquake, 43 inmates escaped. However, the architecture was not the building's main appeal. No, that was reserved for the cruel and abject conditions to which the prisoners were subjected. Windows held no glass, so the cold Atlantic sea air would create damp conditions perfect for mold and other infectious bacteria. Torture was common, along with increased violence that was executed with no signs of relenting. The Old City Jail has held its fair share of inmates who, one by one, met a tragic fate here, from pirates to prisoners of war to convicted murderers and serial killers. The most well known, perhaps, was Denmark Vesey, who in May of 1822 was held after a slave insurrection led by him was revealed. He included the president of the newly free country of St. Dominic, modern day Haiti, the most extensive revolt of the time. Vesey was hung in the old octagonal tower. They say his ghost and many others haunt the place, and visitors often feel their presence. The most active spirit is that of Lavinia Fisher, who is regarded as the first female serial killer in the United States history. She and her husband John ran 6 Mile Inn, which was fittingly named due to its position 6 miles outside of town. The tale goes that Lavinia would use her striking beauty to seduce travelers into a lull with an oleander spiked tea. She would lead them into a certain room, and once in a comfortable and nearly catatonic state, she would pull a lever, dropping the victims down into a secret chamber in the basement where John would dismember them. Their body count ranges from 20 to 120. However, no bodies were ever found to implicate them. They were arrested in 1819 and convicted to hang for highway robbery, since none of their murders could be proven in 1820. Oddly enough, Lavinia almost escaped with her life. There was a law that reached back to the foundation of the city in 1670, which stated that no married woman could be hung. She showed up on the date of her execution, such a haughty sign of defiance in her wedding dress. The executioner simply hung John first, legally making Lavinia a widow. Lavinia did not wait for judgment, but leaped off the gallows, effectively hanging herself. Many say they can see her roaming the lower halls of jail today, and her screams are heard echoing throughout the building. In addition to those more well known characters, a host of others were brutally held here, including holdovers from the pirate infested days of young Charleston and Union soldiers captured during the Civil War. An apparition of a soldier or jailer is often seen roaming the cells on the third floor. An old wheelchair has remained in the jail since the 1820s. It is assumed and asserted by certain actions of the wheelchair that the person it once belonged to died in a steel embrace, likely due to cholera. The chair is often seen moving by itself and has even bumped into visitors. No one is allowed to sit in it, though very few would like to. In the basement is an old morgue where many passed on to the other side. Visitors often see a small young boy roaming the halls. As many children do, he likes to play and often puts pebbles into people's pockets. He will throw pebbles at visitors if he feels more rambunctious, as many children are, and many feel cold spots around the waist about the height of many children. It is almost inconceivable to believe that this wretched place could be anything more than a terrible and damp skeleton of its former self. However, the Housing Authority of Charleston purchased it in 1939. It lay empty until the American College of the Building Arts acquired it in 2000. They moved out of the haunted building, perhaps because of the hauntings themselves. Purchased in 2016 by Landmark Enterprises for $15 million, they have plans to turn it into offices and conference space. It was a truly ludicrous idea, almost knowing how many lost their lives in such a terrible fashion inside the building. Next time you're in Charleston, be sure to take a tour to learn more about the Holy City. Whew. Thank you.
Add applause.
So yeah, initial thoughts.
Ghost Hullabaloo. Did I say that right? Hullabaloo. 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 Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man.
So what you got?
So what I
Because I
got?
know this is going to be high up on your I believe it list.
Well, first the jail stuff. All the like everyone there is subject to a power of suggestion. You know what I mean? Like they don't. They're probably malnourished. They're probably not getting fed well. Well, that's the same thing. But I don't know. Big point. A tragic history does always lead to hauntings. If something bad happens somewhere, that doesn't mean you're instantly going to be haunted there. Like, what? Why is every time something happens somewhere, there's a spirit that stays and haunts the place? No, 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 no. That's not how. That's no. What? Tragic, tragic history does not always equal hauntings. Okay, it's just not.
Yep. I'm listening.
And ghost, technic, ghost. Not technically, that's not the word I'm looking for. Ghost bring money. Ghost stories bring money. If you're going to go to Charleston, you're going to visit the tour. You're going to go on the tour because it piques your interest. Doesn't mean it's real, but boom, they just got you for your money. They done got you. If I could do a cha-ching sound, that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying.
Yep. I hear the denial.
But that's pretty much what I have on the jail part. If you have more on it.
Yeah. So before we get into all that, a couple facts I want to hit. So this particular story weighs pretty heavy with me because I'm a huge Civil War enthusiast. My favorite area in history. Studied it a lot, so I did enjoy that part of the story. Um, Another part that's kind of on the current side, they said that they sold the grounds to let me get the name right. The American College of the Building Arts in 2000. Um, so I am a building inspector, and they actually used, not currently, they did till they sold it in 2016. They used the Charleston Old City Jail to teach new builders how to restore historic monuments and historic buildings. So I think that was, regardless of its scary past or whether or not any of this is true, the American College of the Building Arts actually used it to teach people how to properly restore historic sites and buildings. Um, so going kind of back in history a little bit, I did watch some of the tour videos, and it's tough getting through that stuff because I mean, I'm a believer and it makes me cringe watching these guys sit there and tell their corny jokes, and everybody standing there they made $45 a head for you to stand there and listen to their corny jokes. But um, they did hit on a few important topics. So, as we've talked about in our past stories, 137 years. This place was haunted, whether you believe it or not. Stories came out of this place for 137 years. The reason I always point that out is because 137 years means that the person that reported it on day one never met the person that reported it on year 137. So folklore, mouth to mouth, written down videos, whatever you want to call it, these stories transferred from person to person. And I feel like even the most skeptical people have to admit that eventually, if something was just so not true, that eventually it would just burn out. And, we did the story last week, about, was it last week we did the most haunted house in Britain?
Yep.
And it was
Like
over 100
2 weeks ago.
years of ghost stories, and people that, the biggest thing, and same thing here, this started in 1802. There was no way to shoot an email to somebody or record a YouTube video or go live on Twitch and tell people that this stuff happened. So there's a little bit of credibility you got to give me in there, that 137 years of consistent ghost stories is a long time. um, some of the ones I heard from the tour guides, true or not, they're very consistent with the typical Discovery Channel ghost adventures type thing. Not calling them out specifically, but the typical, we're ghost hunters. We're going to show up. We do 2 days of research and driving around town and hearing everybody's side, and we spend the night there, right? So one of the stories was a woman got bit in the, what they call Mount Rascal, which is the third, where the third floor where the most violent prisoners were kept. Um, Another one was a mom, same floor, Mount Rascal, third floor. A mom and son were on a tour, and this was recent, like towards the end, like towards current. Um, they were on a tour, and the mom comes up to the tour guide and says that her son is very upset and they need to leave. And he goes to the boy, and the boy is like, my back is burning, my back is burning, I need to get out of here. And they lift his shirt up, and he has scratch marks all over his back. He didn't fall down, he didn't trip. Like, so again, it's, where did it come from? How did it get there? Is it staged? Is it a lie altogether? I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. Um, and again, you hit it on the head with, you have somewhere that people were tortured, people were killed, people were hung, people were in terrible conditions. I mean, I don't agree so much with their cognitive ability was not there. But at the same time, it's like, they were in such conditions. Did they create the stories because they were in bad conditions, or did they, try to say these things so that people would try to come in and investigate and find the conditions they were in? But I think, like I've said before, and I'll say this till the day I die, the reason you get ghost stories out of places like this is because we're talking about a haunting. We're not talking about Casper. We're not talking about Casper here. We're talking about haunting. People are getting hurt, people are getting bit, and it's all, in my opinion, my opinion alone, that it's because of the manner in which these people died. They were hung, they were tortured, they, I mean, they were in cells where there was hay and water, and that was it. And believe it or not, these people suffered extreme pain, terrible torture, overcrowding. It's almost unfathomable to me to believe that something didn't happen, or that these people, if there is some sort of existence of supernatural or beyond natural existence, this is the place where it's going to be. This is the place where we're going to see people come back because they died in a tragic way, they're pissed off, their kids died or whatever. If there is truth to any of this, this is where it's going to happen, in a place just like this. So that's my piece. I'm going to let you go on to our second half of this.
Lavinia? Lavinia? Am I saying that right?
It's Lavinia.
Wow. She, my friend, is an interesting part of it. So, her and her husband, Lavinia and John, Lavinia and John made a halfway house. Well, no, not a halfway house, a Wayfair house. And it was called the 6 Mile House. Because I guess that's how they numbered their buildings, whether, like, depending on how far you were, like, if you were
Yeah,
12.
so in Charleston,
Yeah.
there's a lot of buildings that are called the 8 Mile Plantation, the 7 Mile Bar, whatever. And the history of that is, in Charleston, they originally named things as far away as they were from the port. So if, for instance, this house, the 6 Mile House, was 6 miles from Charleston Port.
Mhm. Mhm. And she's known, Lavinia. Okay, Lavinia is known as technically to be. I don't know if it's technically is the word for it, but she's known as the first female serial killer. Um,
Yep, and South Carolinians, boy, we're real proud to have that one. I'm just glad, that South Carolina can bring it home for everybody. We'll keep that trophy on the mantle for years to come. That, we're proud to have that one under the belt. Not.
but it is said that anyone who would like stop there, she would, because she's known to be like really pretty, so she would bring them up, say, "Hey, you want some tea?" Slip something in the tea. They'll be too heavy. By the time she puts them in the bed would just drop onto an opening on the floor, and that's where they'll wake up and see. Well, they won't really wake up. I mean, they'll be like kind of paralyzed. I guess paralyzed would be the word for it. And John and her will just go at it with some axe. It is said that they buried all those people in the hotel area. So like they were all buried somewhere there. Um, they did eventually get caught. They did eventually get caught. Uh, because she done messed up. She wasn't charming enough. Apparently, is the story I heard. She wasn't charming enough, and she a guy finally went to his room, I think he laid something on his bed, and the bed dropped.
Yep.
When his bed dropped, he saw the two standing there with axes, and then was smart enough to run, hop on a horse, and go straight to the police. Um so with that, they were arrested, both were sentenced to death, with that being the death hanging. Um First, John escapes and fails at escaping. Mind you, he leaves his wife. Crybaby John. He leaves his wife, tries to escape, and he gets caught. Then he pleads with his wife, begs her. He begs her to ask, to ask God for forgiveness. Lavinia refused. She also refused to walk, so she had to be carried. She wanted to be hanged in her dress, her wedding dress, which I learned is a weird South Carolina, you need to check your laws again. You're getting a little weird here. They had a law in South Carolina that married women could not be hanged. So the reason she wore her wedding dress is because she waited after John got hung first. She was a widow. So she stood there for a minute, gave the audience a chance to wife her up. I mean, failed, obviously. Obviously she failed.
Lord have mercy.
But she failed. And this is the part that gets me. Where is it? Where is it? Her
Talking about her most badass statement that she
Oh,
ever
yeah.
said.
Oh, yeah.
I've got it written right here if you'd like me to read it. Because it is the most badass thing I think anyone other than maybe Captain Jack Sparrow has said while in the gallows.
I let you say it.
She stood there and looked at the crowd and said, "If you have a message that you want sent to hell, you give it to me and I'll deliver it myself." And then she fucking jumped. She jumped off the damn gallows.
And so with her, the inmates said that they would see a woman with a wedding dress haunting the jail. Okay, first off, she didn't die in the jail. She died outside the jail. So how could you see her?
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here it comes.
I'm just saying.
Denial in full effect. Here it comes.
How can you see her in the jail if she can't even get in the club? I mean, she couldn't get in the club. She died outside the jail. And then two, there's no concrete. Still to this day, they didn't have any concrete evidence that she ever even committed a murder. So she could not even be the first female serial killer. So South Carolina, you better lose that trophy real quick. There's no evidence. So they created this ghost it could be based on a myth. So there you go again with the fake ghost to bring in the money. Right, there you go. And I mean, the inmates were so probably malnourished at that point where they could look at a guard and be like, "Oh, that guard's probably wearing a wedding dress."
Okay. Pause. I'm gonna give you one that I learned, a fact that I learned, and I want you to give me your legitimate response to this.
All right,
So
bring it.
you claim that the inmates were so malnourished that they just made shit up. Okay, I got one.
Got one. Throw it at me.
When Lavinia was hung, the prisoners were not aware that she wore her wedding dress to the gallows. No one told them. The guards didn't know. Only person that knew was the people that were at the executioner, and there was no fucking Facebook. There was no camera roll back then. So you tell me what your reasoning to believe that they just manifested the image of a woman that matched her exactly.
You ever played telephone?
Yes.
All right. Somebody could have said they saw Lavinia in a dress. By the time it got to inmate F, they're wearing a
Just somebody. Who's the somebody? The guards didn't know. She wore the dress the day she was hung.
exactly. They had to carry her. They had to. The guards had to carry her because she refused to walk. She was carried. She was carried to the gallows. She was carried. Someone had to have seen her and be like, "Oh snap! She's wearing what's she
Who
wearing?"
saw her and ran up to the jail and was like, "Hey, y'all, she's wearing a wedding dress. Make sure y'all make the ghost story match it." Oh, you're not getting away from this one. I'm sorry. No, you're not. I'm not giving you this one.
I just there's no way. I mean, the ghost, her story just gave them a more money to profit on there being a ghost.
They weren't okay. Get out of the mindset. I'm sorry. This one's just got me fired up. get out of the mindset of the 21st century ghost tour. There were no ghost tours in the late 1800s. They weren't making money because the prisoners were sounding crazy. There was no monetary solution or compensation that the prisoners were receiving because they told them that, well, there was a scary woman in here. Give me $20. Like, no, that didn't happen. Nowadays, sure, I am full with you that not every story that comes out of that place now is for the right reason. But in let's say the place was opened in 1802. When did she die? When was she hung? 1800s, right? 1820. She's hung in 1820. Who was doing ghost tours in 1820, bro? They thought they were witches. They were like scared of them. They weren't looking for money. You can't use that excuse back then.
Yeah, but I'm saying now. Like now, how are they going to say there was a ghost back then if they didn't have any evidence? It's just word of mouth. You're playing telephone with each other. There's no proof. There's no proof that you saw a ghost there. Oh, I got a scratch on my back. Okay, did you actually bump into the wall behind you?
You're using examples from today. That scratch on the back happened like 2 years ago, dude. Like, I'm just saying. Just hear me out. They weren't doing ghost tours. They weren't monetizing. It was still a jail in 1820, 1825. It was still a jail. The people weren't making money off of it. There was no magazine. There was no YouTube. There was none of that. There was no monetization that you could get from telling ghost stories. Like it just it did not happen. So I am full blown with you on it makes me cringe sometimes listening to ghost tour people because some of what they say is true, most of what they say is true, especially the history parts, but they come up with some stuff to make people want to buy their product. I get that. But in 1825, there was no bulldog ghost tours running around going, hey, $45 a head will walk you through to jail. Like, no, they didn't do that. So I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel for where anyone was making. Like, did they think if they told the guards I saw a ghost, they weren't going to kill them? Like, I don't know. But that's just where I'm not getting that one from me.
It's just, I don't know. There's no evidence from back then that's proved.
Because it was fucking 1825.
Okay, draw a picture. Didn't they have the little draw picture on the little, caveman stuff? Do a picture. They got photos from 1812. Come on. I don't want to hear there was no. Oh, we have a photo of the building from 1812. What do you mean we don't have a photo of the ghost? Come on, get it together.
If we get a photo, it's probably going to look like that Ed and Lorraine Warren photo we saw last time. And that's not helping my situation any, so I'm not showing any more pictures.
Exactly. I mean...
Okay. Second of all, I got more. So I agree. Now, everyone can agree that law is not always 100%. So they say that they could not convict them of these supposed 120 murders that they committed. But to me, let's say I've got this nice, pretty black robe on. Imagine me as a magistrate. I'm a judge. 1820, sitting there listening to this case, and this man is sitting on the witness stand and goes, "Look, Your Honor, I took a book and I set it on my bed, and the bed fell out of the floor, and there were two motherfuckers at the bottom with axes waiting on me." As a judge, I'm gonna be like, well, they weren't down there to give you a hug, so I can only assume that somebody died in the damn house. Somebody died in the damn house. Whether they proved it or not, that motherfucker was about to die.
No, they just wanted to chop some wood. That's why they had the axes. I mean...
Okay, hey, come down here, help us chop some wood. We just weren't gonna tell you. We just dropped your bed out.
Sorry, it's Old Spring. My bad.
But yeah, I would have been completely flabbergasted if I would have been in the bed. I mean, first thing that comes to mind, fucking Sweeney Todd.
Oh God.
First thing that comes to my mind, barber chair slips down, your throat slit, you're in a freaking meat pie in London. I don't know. But could you imagine being in Sweeney Todd and you set your bag on the chair and all of a sudden the floor drops out? You'd have been like, hey, you were not gonna shave me. Like, gotta be some questions asked here.
Like, hey, you down there, come up here. Let's talk about this because you are going to die, not me.
And they said that so back then the marshal or whatever, I think it was a marshal back then that they went and got for law enforcement.
Constable or something.
But they came back and this is the problem. We're talking about 1800s. So there's, they say I don't know how you can justify ranging her murders from 20 to 120. That's like a huge gap. I can understand we're like, well, we couldn't confirm the last 5, but you're talking 100 murder difference. But some stories do say that when the marshals responded to the house, they did find remains, but they weren't able to prove in a court that she murdered them.
They
So
could
I
have
think
slipped and fell.
I think what she ended up getting charged with was uh what is it? Stagecoach robbery or something back then.
I think
Or
so.
no, highway robbery. I don't remember what it's called.
Because she was
Where
robbing them.
yeah, where she was accused and charged of like just robbing them but not killing them. But the gallows story for her, I mean, that is I don't mean this. I'm a born and raised South Carolinian, but that is the most southern damn story I have ever heard of a judge or executioner. And she gets up there and goes, "Yeah, motherfucker, I'm married. You can't hang me." And he goes, "Hang her fucking husband first. Ah, you're a widow. Your turn." Like when I heard that, I was like, "Oh yeah, she's hung in the South." I mean, I don't mean like that, but I mean like that is just a typical like I don't even know how to put it, like solution-based execution I've ever heard. Like they didn't take any, and it goes back to like colonial justice. Colonial justice was unforgiving. Like they were talking about um like the different devices that they used in the jail to torture people. And one of them was they take you and they put you in the street and they shackle your feet to a bench and you sit there for 2 days with no food, no water, and everybody just gets to come by and I don't know, dump their feces on you, pee on you, throw meat at you, whatever. And they were like, "Oh yeah, that was the most least punishment you could have got." And I'm like, "What?" Like there wasn't no warning back then. There were that was it. That was what you got. That was the least you were getting.
But look, it's like, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready for round 2. Who wants to start another in?
And I mean the fact, and not all of the stories say that she jumped. I mean, I think that might be a factor that was added into it for effect. But if it's true, I mean, now it is documented in the court proceedings that she did say, if you have a message you want sent to hell, you can give it to me and I'll deliver it myself. She did say that. She also did refuse the prayer from the clergyman. And she did wear a wedding dress. Those are all facts. Now, whether or not she jumped from the gallows, I don't know, but it sounded badass. Another thing, I gotta tear you up on. Oh Lord,
If it's a fact, where's the photo?
not a photo; it's a document.
Who
I
documented?
mean, we have documents from way before 1800. We're not talking about documents. We're talking about like ye old iPhone over here. We didn't have iPhones back then. We didn't have camcorders. We didn't even have Polaroids back then. Like they had pictures, but it wasn't like, "Oh my God, she's jumping. Take a picture." It's like, no, hey, make an appointment. Come next week, and it'll take 4 hours for me to take a picture. Like, there's a bit of a difference there.
like just take a selfie real quick. She's jumping.
But the other thing you were talking about that I think is one thing that we can do and will always disagree on is ghosts and where they haunt. So, and the parts of the Ed and Lorraine Warren stories kind of help me out with this because that's part of it that I do believe that a ghost is not always bound to where they died. So if a person has a heart attack and dies in the park, there isn't like an invisible fence around the park that says that they have to haunt there. It's the spectral plane. So they can go in that universe, in that sub universe or whatever, wherever their spirit is. Now, when you get into demonic possession, they believe, I don't know how much there really is to back this up, but a lot of demonic possession is affixed to a boundary. So usually within someone, within a home, within a building, there, you go in the building, you use the conjuring stories, for instance, you go in in the house, anyone in the house can be possessed, but usually once that demon is exorcised or kicked out, it doesn't come back, but it's affixed to that location. And like in the conjuring story, when they walk out the house and the mom, who's the vessel, is going to burn alive because the demon can't leave the home. So that's a different topic. Like demonology and stuff focuses more on that demon being attached to something, an object, a person, a place. A ghost can be in the spectral plane and go anywhere, can follow you. People move and ghosts follow them. Hauntings continue. They're not tied to one place. But if that ghost felt the most torture, which, again, going back to impact on their lives, whether it was their death, because clearly for her death wasn't a big fucking deal. She knew it was coming. So to me, a big thing would be, and I'm going to elaborate on the story of the husband a little bit. The husband did not fail at his attempt to escape. The husband escaped.
He got
They
caught.
both were trying to escape. No, even better. They tried to escape, and the story I heard at first was that he got caught. But what another story, don't know which one's really true, but if this one's true, this is why it makes more sense to me about why she haunts there. They both were trying to get out of the jail. They tied sheets around the barred windows because there's no glass. Husband goes down first in case he needs to help the wife. Sheet breaks. It's third story. She can't get out of the damn building now. Husband runs off, leaves his fucking wife. Next day, he turns himself in because for some ungodly reason, he could not leave his wife in that jail. So at first, I'm sure she thought, oh, well, fuck, that motherfucker just left me. He ain't coming back, So the day before she's executed, her husband up and leaves her in a jail in these conditions. And the story is he came back, whether he got caught, some say he turned himself in, whatever. But to me, that's another tragic check mark on the list of things to add to why she haunted the jail,
But I mean, she had a one-way ticket to her new man. She said she had a message. She was going to bring messages straight to the devil. So why come back and hunt if you're going straight to where you want to be? Why hunt?
Some don't have a choice. You ever watch Beetlejuice? Them motherfuckers like, we stuck. Like, well, you got to wait like 7,000 years to meet your case officer. Like, hell, I don't know.
Well, I guess that is true. I mean, I will say
there's going to be questions that we can't answer. Why they haunt, nobody knows that. People can try to come up with reasons, and I'm one of them. I believe there are. I am firm on there's reasons why ghosts haunt where they do and when they do. Why and how, that part I can't explain to you. And there's not a person out there today that can explain to you what happens after you die. Because after you die, you ain't nobody can talk to you then. So we may never know the answer to that. Nobody knows what the afterlife is. Whether you believe it is non-existent and you just lay in a ditch for the rest of your life, or you believe that you're stuck between two worlds, or you think you go to heaven or you go to hell. Maybe she thought she was going to hell because she was a godly woman. She couldn't have been too godly if she killed 120 damn men, but she thought she was going to hell, and she ended up, some believe that because she did what she did, she was sentenced to that torture, to haunt and to remain in that middle life until she paid her debt and then would be allowed into heaven or hell. It all depends on what you believe in that aspect of how and why. But we can come up with reasons in this life why we think they're doing it there, or what events led up to them needing to haunt or having to haunt. But after that, there's not any. I mean, we can talk about the Rougarou. One of those stories was that person was sentenced to 100. What was it, 101 days or whatever
Yeah.
of you have to do this. It's like a punishment. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But the fact remains that something keeps them there.
Well, maybe she fell in love with one of the prison guards. I don't know. Oh man. I don't know.
Right now, as much as it pains me, I'm gonna have to disagree with you.
Wait, what? I thought it
I
was I thought that was going a different route. I thought you were gonna
what?
say, as much as it pains you, I'm gonna have to say, hey, you're right.
No, that wouldn't just pain me. That would kill me. So then I'd be haunting you, and you'd wonder why, and it's because you made me say something like that. No, I'm just kidding. But no, like we said from the beginning, we are very divided on some topics. This is one of them. This is just one that kind of hits home for me, and I feel like, and I have always, and I'm gonna keep saying it. I feel like that places like this will and do have ghost stories, and some of them are true. I will concede the fact that not all of them are, but 137 years of people telling that they've seen things, consistent things, down to the color of her hair and the color of her eyes, or the non-existence of her eyes, or whatever you want to call it. But at some point, you've got to sit back and go, okay, 137 years worth of people lied, and not all of them got paid. The people today that are running these ghost tours, believe me, I love ghost tours. I love doing them. I love watching scary stuff on YouTube. I love going to the ghost tours and doing all that stuff. And I'm one of the suckers that pays the money to do it. But at the same time, I know that they're there to make the money. But some of the stuff that's happened there isn't because of the money. So we can be divided on this all day long, and you cannot concede anything. I don't care. But as far as I'm concerned, some of this has to be true.
I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, none of it's true.
You're 100% no on this. There's nothing in this that resonates truth with you.
No, not. I mean, I would love to believe that there was a possible badass
Yankee.
woman. Whoa. I'd love to believe that there was a possible badass woman and her being the first female serial killer. I don't know. I like to believe it, but again, no evidence. No evidence. I don't know.
What evidence are you looking for in a ghost story?
Give me some photos, man. I want to see something.
Okay, I gave you photos last week and they didn't do us any good.
No, that's I want to see it. I need to see it. I need to see it. I need to see
Well, maybe we'll have to take a camera and take a trip down there and see what happens to you.
Wait, what?
I mean, okay, so this is a good opportunity. So my mom and my aunt did I tell the story already about the Gettysburg and them going in
No.
okay. So sorry, I didn't want to repeat if I repeated it before, but my mom is a teacher. Both of my aunts were teachers at one point, and they went on I forget if they were in Pennsylvania somewhere, and they were doing a ghost tour, and one of the areas that they went into was a place where children were kept under a schoolhouse and they were tortured. And much as I don't like talking about it, that was what happened there. And they were tortured, and some of them unfortunately died. And they were kept in this like cage under the schoolhouse, like a dungeon. And part of the tour was everyone goes in the dungeon with the tour guide, and they have one of those. The it's not I forget what it's called. The box that it plays static and then it says the words. You know what I'm talking about? Like picks up the words that the ghosts
Yeah.
are saying.
Yeah.
So it's there's probably like 10 or 15 of my family members there. They're walking in. Hold on, it's gonna bug me. I need to know what this thing's called. A spirit box. As soon as I started typing, I remember it's a spirit box, and it plays static. And thank you, Carmen. And it plays static, and it goes it goes off and it turns words that it's hearing into physical words out of the speaker. And so 10 or 15 people, my mom and my aunts are like the last 4 or 5 people to walk in the room. Spirit box is in there playing, nothing's going off, nothing going off. As soon as my mom crosses the threshold into the room, the spirit box goes, "Teacher," loud, and everyone just stops. And again, if the tour guide really put in all the, because they did nobody knew who they were. They didn't like do a background of like where everybody came from, introductions, none of that. Tour guide did his bit, told a few corny jokes, and they started walking. Unless this tour guide went on my mom's Facebook page, which doesn't even say she's a teacher, but somehow figured it out. I don't know how they would have set this up, but it was still scary. So they walk in, and soon as my mom crosses the threshold into this room, spirit box goes off. "Teacher, teacher." And the guy looks around and he goes, "Is anybody in here a teacher?" And my mom and my aunts were like, "Yeah, we are." And no shit, spirit box goes, "Amber," I think it said her name. I don't 100% remember. I know it said teacher. But it kept going off and it was talking stuff about teachers. And I don't know how they would have known that she's a teacher, but it did. And it was still one of those craziest stories to me. I don't think it said her name. I think I'm pushing it on that one. But it definitely said teacher. But to me, and that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like something was there, and I don't believe all the I have watched some. If you guys love YouTube videos about ghost hunting, there is a old show that didn't make it, and it was called the. Hold on, I want to get the name wrong.
You want to get the name wrong or right?
Huh? It was called the Tennessee Wraith Chasers. Tennessee, and then WRAITH Chasers. I don't think they're a thing. I know their show. So they still have a Facebook page. But I don't know. I know they did like a show for Discovery, like a typical ghost hunting type thing. And in their show, what they did was they would go do the typical thing. They'd do the history, they'd show up, they'd spend a day or two running around town, they'd spend the night, but afterwards, they would try to figure out a way to contain the ghost like the Ghostbusters. They would build a what is that?
Proton.
No, hold on.
No, the proton box.
I forget what is that. There's a box. It's a box that's made out of mirrors on the inside. And they say when you catch a ghost or a demon inside of it, it can't find its way back out. I forget what that's called. Hold on.
Mirror box.
This keeps saying witch's mirror box, but that's not it. I forget what it's called.
Mirror box 2.0.
But it's like they made this box and you would open it and you try to lure the ghost in there and you close it and then the ghost can't find its way out because it's made of mirrors on the inside. Anyway, it's a cool show. I enjoyed it. I wish they'd have made like 100 more episodes. But they have some pretty interesting experiences. So shout out to those guys. Go give them some love on Facebook and YouTube. But so I think we're pretty sturdy in our stances here. I think we've talked about a lot. A mirror box, maybe that is what it's called. Just seems too simple for me. But yeah, this was a good hometown, home state story. Definitely, as I started researching it, I'm sure you felt the same way. Very quickly turned into a Lavinia Fisher story. But still a lot of history embedded in the Charleston Old City Jail. A lot of history comes out of South Carolina. Most of it is rooted around the Civil War. But I think we'll kind of pick somewhere. We've had quite a few recommendations, but I think next time we're going up north to Jersey. After that, I think we'll be due for another viewer submission. So remember to shoot us an email, get us on Facebook. in the Discord. You submitted in any of that stuff, and we can get you in line. I know I've had a couple close friends submit some pretty good stories, some personal experiences that they'd like us to look into, and are very eager to see how differently we stand on it. So yeah, we've got YouTube, Discord. This will be released on Spotify and YouTube, of course. Twitter. What else am I missing?
Facebook.
I said Facebook.
I said Facebook, YouTube.
We have Patreon.
Yeah.
We're trying to get more stuff on the Patreon. Just trying to kind of see if there's any interest. What we'll probably do over on the Patreon, if you choose to get that membership there, we're going to share some more of our in-depth research that we don't have time to share over here. Lots of pictures, lots of research and stuff that we do. The week prior to the podcast, we'll share it over there so that you guys get an opportunity to view what we're looking at. Because sometimes there's a lot of sidebars that we end up researching that we don't get to share with you guys in this hour. But yeah, so I appreciate everybody listening to us. Our interaction has been more than the two of us could have ever expected. Lots of friends, lots of family been listening. People that we would have never thought would have ever listened to a podcast in their life have started listening to us. So I greatly appreciate it. I know Miss Boo greatly appreciates it.
I do.
So yeah, that's episode 4, and we'll see you guys next week. And as always,
Stay
stay spooky.